Hi folks, today's video is all about motivation. You've probably heard actors ask, what is my motivation for this scene? And that idea is something that you can definitely apply to your NPCs, and I think it's something that is going to make running your sessions a lot easier if you've put in a little bit of thought into what your NPC's motivation is. And by motivation, I mean, what is it that your NPCs want? Now you can have long-term wants and motivations as well as short-term, immediate, like what do they want from the players during this scene or this moment in the campaign. And this is a step in kind of the session prep that I think can oftentimes get overlooked, but if you put a little bit of thought into it or have a little bit of ideas, some motivations you can kind of pull out of your pocket for those surprise NPCs, it's going to make actually running your game a lot easier. And it's also going to make it feel a lot more real, because if you come up with, here is my character's motivation, what they want, versus this is what the NPCs are going to do, then you are going to be able to react to what the player characters do a lot better, because you can choose the NPCs' reactions based on what their motivation is. What is it that they're trying to get from the player characters, or what is it that they're trying to get in the big long term, and how are they going to go about that, versus coming up with well, the NPC is going to say this, or the NPC is going to do this, doesn't always fit if your players go off on a slightly different tangent than you expected them to. It also can kind of lead to NPCs feeling kind of like those video game characters that just give you kind of the same dialogue over and over. And so, yeah, it feels much more like, okay, we're interacting with a character, a pre-generated thing, rather than we're interacting with a person. A big thanks to all of our patrons, especially Joan. If you want to support our channel, you can head on over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative and check out the perks of being a patron. For the long-term goals, I think this is something that is very helpful to come up with reoccurring NPCs or major NPCs. Definitely a villain or adversary, come up with what it is that they're wanting to do, and that's probably going to be something that maybe opposes to the party's wants, and they don't necessarily have to achieve their goal, but they have something that they're working towards. So this helps provide that big long-term picture that you can think of for the NPCs. It also allows you to have growth. Do they make progress towards their goal, or do they not? And then with the short term, really it's come down to what is it that they want from the player characters in this specific interaction. And those immediate wants and the long-term wants can be different. I also think the immediate wants is something that is useful to have just a little bit of it, at least, in your mind for every NPC. And I'm talking both humanoid people NPCs as well as creatures. What is it that the creatures want? And it might just be that this creature wants to survive. And initially, surviving might mean, oh look, I'm going to go eat that halfling because they look like a tasty treat. And then when the party starts attacking them, they might change their mind and decide, the way that I'm going to survive is running away from the giant barbarian that's running at me with a great sword. And so this also brings me into my next point about motivation and wants, which is characters are going to use different tactics, different ways of trying to get what they want. So by having this kind of idea of what is it that they want from the player characters, what is it that they want long term, if they're trying something and it's not working with the player characters, they're not going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over. They might try changing it up a little bit. Perhaps you have a NPC that's trying to get the party to help them. Initially, they might be polite and ask, and then if the party doesn't respond to that, they might resort to, I'll offer them some kind of reward, or maybe they just start begging and bringing up, how down it is and trying to make the party feel bad for them in order to help them. You can change up the tactics to still be going after that main motivation, but it's changing things up a little bit, and that's how people do things. Like, if I see something's not working, I'm not going to keep doing the same thing over and over. I'm going to try something different. And with this is going to allow you to kind of improvise those scenes a lot better with that basic mindset. And what they want in the immediate from the player characters can be a whole variety of things. It could be that they want to help the party. It could be they want the party to help them. It could be they just want to sell them something and make some money. It could be that they are wanting to kill the party. It also could be that they just want to be left alone, so they're going to do whatever they can to get the party to move on. There are all sorts of different motivations that your NPCs can have, and by giving them all these different motivations, you're going to end up having NPCs that feel different from each other. You're not going to just have kind of the same model over and over and over, even if the core things that you're working off of are similar. If you change up the motivations, that can provide some unique, interesting NPCs. So yeah, if you're interested in some more chats about NPCs, we've done 2 other videos, one specifically on shopkeepers, because that's something that a lot of people interact with, and perhaps might be recurring NPCs that you want to make some fun, interesting NPC shopkeepers, as well as I have a GM diary, just kind of talking generally about how I have created NPCs and run them. So hopefully those are helpful to you, and I'll put links to them up here and down in the description. So how about you? Do you like to come up with long-term and or short-term motivations for your NPCs? Is that something you find helpful? It's kind of like an acting exercise that can be applied to tabletop role-playing games. Have you had any particularly fun, interesting motivations or wants for your NPCs? I'd love to hear about those moments down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit like, and I hope that you subscribe, because we make videos here every week about tabletop RPGs and our other geeky interests, and that way, it'll just pop up in your subscription feed. All right, I'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative.